Hi, welcome to the Not So Crazy Canuk. Our goal is to uncover factual, relevant, unbiased information which might help you become a smarter, savvier investor. I'm hoping that this podcast will send you away with at least one valuable kernel of knowledge which might help you make a better decision with your investments or in your life. I'm Tom Dusmet, a retired investment professional and founder of localwealthprofessionals.com, an investment literacy program dedicated to helping you learn what you need to know so you can recognize investments that make sense and also learn what a good advisor should do for you. If you liked what you heard here, visit localwealthprofessionals.com for more articles, videos, and even a full-blown investment course. Have fun getting educated. Our guest today is Wafaa El-Osta, who is the founder of Local2Global Solutions, providing solutions to governments, NGOs, not-for-profits, and other businesses to generate long-term economic growth. Wafaa herself comes from Lebanon, speaks Arabic and French as well as English, which makes her the ideal partner to help businesses of new Canadians to get a toehold in the marketplace and succeed. She collaborates with settlement programs to help new Canadians and future entrepreneurs think smart, create lean businesses, and also helps prepare presentations and business plans to pitch to banks and other partners. Today, Wafaa is going to share with you, our listeners, some success stories of how, with a little help, motivated new immigrants have flourished in Canada and are contributing to our society. Wafaa, I'm really pleased to have you come and talk to us about this today. Welcome.
Thank you for having me over, Tom. This is a great opportunity to share my experiences. I am very passionate about what I do, and we've been doing this for a couple of years now. I started this with my awe and my admiration for the Canadian initiative to host Syrian refugees. So I'm happy to be here and sharing with you.
So have you got some examples of how this happens? You know, for many Canadians, they don't really understand this whole process. They know that people are coming from different parts of the world. In many cases, they're immigrants themselves. You're an immigrant and I'm an immigrant, for example. The whole fiber of Canadian culture is based on immigration. And one of the nice things about Canada is we embrace people's separate cultures and encourage them to embrace the Canadian culture as a whole. And obviously what you're doing is trying to enhance that in today's world. Isn't that right?
Absolutely. So I am very, I worked a big period of my life was working with small and medium enterprises, especially in remote regions, because I work in sustainable tourism development. But
do you mean remote regions in Canada or remote regions in other parts of the world?
It was in other parts of the world first. Okay. But when I came to Canada in 2011, I came with two boys, 14 and 16, and I wanted to continue my work. I find it very hard. I was from the people who would come from hero to zero. I was meeting with ministers, director general, managing a budget of $6 million, and then I decided to come here. And when I came here, it was like a shock to me. I had to work at a store folding T-shirts with Toronto and Canada on it. This was my closest connection with my sector that was before the tourism sector, right?
Wow.
Right?
So a big change.
Totally big change. Like my son came to the shop and said, "No, you're not doing this. I don't want you to be doing this." And I said, "It will come. Trust me. I just need to concentrate on doing my private life, my family life, before I really concentrate on my work and being on the spotlight myself."
So the bottom line is you had to figure it out for yourself before you could teach anybody else how to do it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I had to navigate the system and I passed through a lot of challenges and difficulties. And then I decided to do my master's degree. To navigate the system on my own while I'm raising my own family of 2 adolescent boys on my own.
So you came here with your children on your own?
On my own. I had the support of my husband back home, who was sending the money because he had a stable job. And this is one of many cases, a sample of many cases like this, in fact.
Well, that sounds like a case of considerable sacrifice too, because that means your husband stayed in, was it Lebanon?
Yes, yes.
And he's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And you came here with your family, presumably because Canada was a safer place, and you felt that you could bring your family up in a better environment, I guess.
Absolutely, yes, absolutely. So that was a choice, a difficult choice, but a choice that I respected and persistently worked towards towards making it a success. Right?
Well, that's a big sacrifice.
It is. It is. It is. I would call it a choice. I wouldn't give it to my kids as sacrifice. That's it, because I don't want this burden on their shoulder anyway. And I did well. I find out that I did well. And I want to give this, the notes that I took for myself, the notes that I took to share with my husband to come here and make his own enterprise and start our new life together. This was a reference for myself. I made myself a resourceful person in this. And then when the Trudeau government and Justin Trudeau announced that they're gonna bring the Syrian refugees, when the doors of Canada opened for the Syrian refugees, I was in awe, and I was so humbled by the sponsorship formula, like private sponsors bringing a family of 4 or 2 or 3, whatever it is. But this was a lot to me to take in, while people in Lebanon, who's just an adjacent country to Syria, were having difficulty hosting the Syrians because they were coming in uncontrollable ways, in fact. But that put aside, I had the most amazing experience giving and developing this program with local settlement agencies. While I also worked as a volunteer with a couple of families with the sponsors, Canadian sponsors from my professors at the university at the time, towards helping them settle and really, really looking closely to their own problems too. Like, I talked about my own experience, but this is one thing, and their experience is different. Each one's experience is different. But everybody who comes as a new person, they say to the new Canadians, the most important thing is to settle. And to settle, the most important thing, to be productive, to have a job, or to become productive. Now, for the Syrian refugees themselves, this is the first time the Canadian government gives a program, at least to my knowledge. The Canadian government sponsored a program for the Syrian refugees in their own language, in Arabic. It happened before in Vietnamese for the refugees who came.
For the boat people.
Yes. So this time I had to develop the program in the Arabic language, presented in English and Arabic in the class. Every piece of information was translated in English and Arabic, so they can make the bridging too.
Isn't that a great idea? So in other words, it's almost it's a it's an integration class, but it's also a language class at the same time,
Yes,
because you tell people what they need to hear in their own language, and then they hear the same thing in English, so they'll recognize it eventually when
yes,
other people say it.
absolutely. And this is the way they need to speak this language, the language of their interest. So
Absolutely, yeah.
come into the class and we create a platform all together uh, that would help them establish themselves, start their own roots at home, come and start to feel home, in fact. Yeah.
So have you got an example that you
Mhm.
can use as a almost a case study to describe to our listeners how this has worked out? I know that in separate conversations we've talked about some very interesting cases where it's kind of inspiring, and you can and other people might be able to relate to it, where maybe they've had a similar case in their own situation too.
Yes, absolutely. So one of the cases that I really admire, in fact, and was astonished to have it seen created in the room, is the story of two women who don't speak the same language, but they speak a little bit of English, broken English, each one in their own way, but they connected together. They had similar projects and they could sit together, share notes, and they were talking as they just became one entity after few sessions together, although it wasn't like a partnership or an official entity, but just for the sake of developing their business, sharing their notes, sharing their vulnerabilities, their little small successes together. So they worked together and they were making fun of each other in a positive way, joking about their new discoveries of the language, their new um, faults in the language while speaking to other people and not understanding them or something. So it was a very nice connection that was created there, and it gave them support for each other. The two were women, older women, grandmothers, who came in support of their families. And once their family are starting to settle, they wanted to do their own business, working with their sons and daughters and granddaughters and sons, also towards like making a website, taking pictures of the food they're making, and just celebrating their achievements in life and their family achievements in life in Canada as a new country, as a country where they're gonna flourish, and they are seeing their children and grandchildren living happily and contributing.
Well, that's a kind of uplifting story. It's also, so these were two people who came from different countries, did not speak the same language, one and the other, and their only common language bond was English. So they had to communicate with each other in English because neither one of them spoke the other's language.
Yes,
That's what Canada's all about. That's what
absolutely.
it always has been. People have come from all over the world, and immigrated here, and the common thread was the local language, either French in Quebec or English in most of the rest of Canada.
Absolutely, absolutely. So you could see there is what we do is we create this space, a safe space and a fertile environment for those connections to grow, the connections between the people and the land, and the connection between the people and the local programs, and the connection between the people themselves. They share notes, they understand it that there's difficulty, they understand it's hard, but they also connect to each other and help each other just um, in their journey of settlement, in this roller coaster. When somebody's down, the other group would be helping them to get up and working um, on uplifting them and helping them reach the top of their journey.
How do these people find your program, or do you find them? Is this presumably the people that participate in your program are people who are motivated? In other words, they want to do something, and unfortunately, everybody isn't made that way. But the people you work with are the willing. So, in other words, you work with the willing.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. I work with the willing. I work with people who are motivated. Sometimes they arrive to my training after a big journey and after many disappointments. And sometimes they just landed. I had a trainee who became a friend who had just landed in Canada for 20 days. And she was totally fresh and ready to move and to do things. So those people come in with dreams. The dream is their drive, but then they are faced with the reality of things, with the choices that they need to make, with the facts that there are door shuts sometimes if they arrive a little bit late, or they go to a place. I did that. I went out of the subway station going to one place, and I found out that I did the wrong subway station, or I can't find it. Even with GPS in downtown with the towers, they tell you you're here and you're not here, and so there's nothing here.
Yeah. Oops.
It happens, or it's just crossing the street, but just crossing the street is like a couple of street lights, and that's seven minutes away from where you want to reach, where you need those sometimes. Plus all the emotional, distraction and the emotional shock that you get when you're changing your world, even if it was a choice. Never being a refugee. Sometimes when you have a choice, and somebody told me that from the school of my kids, when you have a choice, it's more difficult because you can always come back. You always had the choice of going back. But when you burn the ship behind you, you just have to settle, right?
That's right.
Yes.
Well, it does simplify things, doesn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. You just have to look in one direction. There's no.
Yeah, there is no behind you. It's a cliff behind you.
Yes.
Well, that's been an interesting conversation, Wafaa. I really enjoyed it, and I hope our listeners did too. Do you want to maybe give us your website if somebody's listening to this, so that if they'd like to connect with you, they could?
Absolutely. So my website is Local2Global Solutions.net, and that is local, 2, global solutions.net.
Well, okay. I hope if somebody's listening to this and they know of somebody who's new to the country and is struggling and trying to find their way, that perhaps they'll find you and can perhaps join your group and find their way too. So to our listeners, I say thanks for listening to the Not So Crazy Canuk, and we hope you enjoyed it. And check out next week for another episode, because we're always talking to interesting people, interesting subjects, and maybe you'll pick up another valuable kernel of knowledge that you can use in your own life. If you want to know more, go to www.localwealthprofessionals.com, where you'll find a full investment course called the CIC and our growing library of articles and videos, and of course, the archive of these podcasts. Thanks and bye for now.